Hello YouTube, it's Emma Blue Eyes 10 here with another top 10 video, and today's top 10 is going to be on hated cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! My top 10 hated cards. So I hope you guys enjoy. Now this list is radically different from last time I did a top 10 hated video. There's been quite a few number of changes, most of them have been recent, but there's still some cards there that you probably have seen in the previous video that are still on this list as well. Maybe a bit lower down the list, but they're still there. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy and let's get started. So, in at number 10 is Effect Veiler. Now, I won't lie, Effect Veiler is a very, very good card and I use it myself, but it's recently come onto my top 10 hated list because people who know me and know my style of dueling and everything, a lot of the time know to keep this back in order to use it at maximum effect against me. Using it on my Maiden, using it on my Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, or using it on Bright Star Dragon in order to get Maiden's effect to go off and everything, it's just a frustrating little card really when people know when to use it against me in order to stop certain combos and that going off, because let's face it, you don't really want to face a 3000 attack beater on this field a lot of the time. So anyway, to stop effects for getting Blue Eyes out very easily, this card is often used against me to prevent that. So it's a very recent hatred of card of mine, as I said, but it's not really that big of a deal. It's just that people know when to use this against me, and that's what makes it frustrating and a hated card. So in at number 10 is Effect Veiler. In at number 9 is Light-Imprisoning Mirror. Now again, this is a recent hatred of mine because this is kind of a side deck card used against Constellars and stuff, but once people figure out I'm playing Blue Eyes, then they'll immediately side deck this card pretty easily, and it just shuts down my deck very badly when it is used. And it's frustrating to get around, especially if I've used up my MSTs or Forbidden Lances and I cannot get around it. It's just a deck shutting down mechanic, and it just ruins me and my deck very, very easily and very, very effectively, I will not lie. However, as I said, some decks do run it as a side deck card, some don't. It really depends on who I'm going against and everything, but this is a recent hatred of mine. So yeah, in at number 9 is Light-Imprisoning Mirror. In at number 8 is Dimensional Prison. Now a lot of you are probably surprised to see this in at number 8 because last time I did a top 10 hated video, this was in my top 3 hated cards. However, Dimensional Prison has slid down quite a bit because I don't see it as a real threat anymore. Especially since with all the new support in the Blue Eyes deck, mainly Azure Eyes, protection effect and that going off and everything, Dimensional Prison hasn't been that much of a problem for me. Because Dimensional Prison does target now, so Azure Eyes stops that from happening. And I haven't really run across it a lot recently either, in all honesty. I mean, it is still used, it is still a very good card, and everything, but with Azure Eyes' effect and sometimes with Mirage Dragon and everything, this card is not as much of a problem as it was before. So in at number 8 is Dimensional Prison. In at number 7 is CONSTELLAR PTOLEMY M7. Now this is a very recent hatred of mine. I don't see this as often because it's not used as often as another Constellar monster which is further down in the list. But it's still a pain in the neck. I mean, the ability to bounce back during either player's turn a target that's on the graveyard or on the field. Yeah, the amount of times it's bounced back my Maiden and Blue Eyes or any cards that I think are key into getting strategies and that going off is highly frustrating. So yeah, and it's really hard to get around sometimes, I feel. And especially when it upgrades from like another Constellar monster and everything as well. It's like it's an easy summon, easy to use effect and everything. It's just devastating really when it's used the correct way, and especially used against certain cards of mine. So in at number 7 is CONSTELLAR PTOLEMY M7. In at number 6 is number 11 Big Eye. Now you probably can guess why this is a hated card of mine. especially when I went up against Harpy decks and Dragon Ruler decks, you know, the amount of times this card stole my Blue Eyes White Dragon to use against me was a pain in the neck, to be honest with you. However, with only 26 attack, it was easy to run over with a Blue Eyes if I was able to get it out. So it was dangerous, but it wasn't too dangerous. It said nobody likes their monsters being stolen, to be honest. And it is a permanent change of heart in a monster, basically. And yeah, it was just frustrating to say the least. And when Dragon Rulers were their, their big top thing, and still with the Harpy decks nowadays, it's still easy to get into, still easy to use and abuse, basically. But you can get around it. If you've got something bigger to run it over, or if you have a Dark Hole or Effect Veiler or anything like that, then it's a pain in the neck when it does come out. But it's not as dangerous as some other cards that are in this list. So in at number 6 is number 11 Big Eye. In at number 5 is CONSTELLAR PLEIADES. Now, this card is a lot more frustrating, I feel, than Ptolemy M7, mainly because it doesn't have exactly the same effect as a Ptolemy M7, but it is a lot easier to get into. And because of that way, the way it's easier to get into means that it can be I've lost the word for it now. Swarmed onto the field quite easily as well, multiple copies and everything, which means being able to... It's basically a compulsory evacuation device on legs. That's all I can say about it. The amount of times it's bounced back any of my card combos and everything, it's been highly frustrating. And then when the opponent gets out another one and then another one and then upgrades them into either Ptolemy M7 or whatever, it's like you just cannot get around it. It's highly frustrating. And this is the one I most commonly come into contact with other than M7. And I think Constellar is just more dangerous because, as I said, it's more easier to get into, in all honesty. And it's more easier to spam, basically, as well. So in at number 5 is Constellar PLEIADES. In at number 4 is Bottomless Trap Hole. Now, a lot of you might be surprised it slid down the list a little bit, because it was in my top 3 hated last time I did one of these videos. But it slid down a little bit because since it's been limited, I haven't seen it as much, but it's still in my top 5 hated, mainly because people who know me, again, this is mainly from knowing how I duel and my dueling style and everything, they know to keep this back for certain combo cards of mine, such as summoning out my Ultimate Dragon, summoning out the Shining Dragon, or any of the Blue Eyes plays, and if I'm trying to fusion summon it, etc, etc. So it's still a pain in the arse, to put it politely. It's not as dangerous as now because it is limited, but it is kept aside for certain plays of mine by people who know me very well. As a result, that frustrates me to heck because, once people know how you do and everything, they'll keep certain cards aside for you and use them against you no matter what. And that's what Bottomless Trap Hole is. It's not as as I said, it's not as dangerous anymore because I don't run into it as much anymore. But when I do run into it, my god, it's a pain in the neck. So in at number 4 is Bottomless Trap Hole. In at number 3 is Chaos Sorcerer. Now, you guys know I really, really hate this card with a passion. This should never have been semied. It should have stayed limited, if you want me to be absolutely honest, and I hope it gets banned eventually, to be honest with you. Chaos Sorcerer I hate much more than Blacklisted Soldier. Blacklisted Soldier I think is a better option because with Chaos Sorcerer, not only is it a 23 attack level 6, once it banishes a monster, because it's a level 6, which means you can easily use things like Plague Spreader Zombie or Effect Veiler in order to sync with it, and bam, there's a new monster with no hindrance of attack, with no hindrance in order to attack or anything like that, ready to wipe you out. So it's like, you banish my monster, then you bugger off basically, and there's a new monster to take place to run me over. And that's what really frustrates me about it. It's easy to summon, it's easy to combo with, it's just so highly frustrating when it comes out onto the field. I mean, I know it's a once per turn thing and it can't attack and all that, but it's just more combo-y than the Blacklisted Soldier. And that's what really frustrates me about it. And especially now that there's 2, I mean, once you get rid of one, then you've got another one to worry about if the opponent happens to top deck it or has it already in their hand or anything like that. So it's like you worked hard to get rid of the first Chaos Sorcerer, and then they get rid of it with combos, and then they summon out another one, in the same turn, and that is really frustrating as well, because it's like, it's just like banish, combo, bam, run over, you're dead, basically. So yeah, I absolutely hate this card with a passion, and it's in my top 3. In at number 3, Chaos Sorcerer. In at number 2 is Magic Cylinder. Now you're probably surprised to see this card in at number 2, but this card has become a very, very recent hate card of mine, because it has cost me so many games you have no idea, on DevPro, on Dueling Network, and in real life. I mean, I think this is an amazing little card. It does a massive amount of damage and everything, but it's basically a Ring of Destruction in a reincarnated form. It can end games if you play it right, and you know, being able to negate an attack is brilliant, which means your monster's saved and everything, but the massive amount of burn damage that comes out from it is just ouch. And as I said, if you play it right, or play it at the right time and everything, you can really easily end the duel, no problem. And the amount of times I've run into this card, not only at the beginning of a game, but in the middle of the game and at the end of a game, which has ultimately cost me the game and everything, is highly frustrating. I think it should have stayed at 1 or even 2 maximum. It shouldn't have gone to 3, if you want me to be honest. I mean, I know a lot of people don't really use it, but those who do know how to use it effectively and to their and to its maximum capacity and everything. So yeah, it's just a recent hindrance of mine, really. It's because it's just a really good card. It ends games very, very quickly, and it's just something I've encountered a lot recently, and I never thought I'd really come to hate Magic Cylinder, but unfortunately I have now, so it's kind of made me wary about it, because you never know when a Magic Cylinder could be hiding to end the game. I'd rather face a Mirror Force than a Magic Cylinder, to be honest. So in at number 2 is Magic Cylinder. And in at number 1, which should be no surprise to anybody, is still Solemn Warning. This card should never have been created. I hope this card gets banned next format, and I probably will get shot down for that, but that's how much I hate this card. There's several main reasons why I hate this card. One is it's a counter trap card, meaning that it's spell speed 3, you cannot counter it unless you have another spell speed 3 card out. In other words, another counter trap. 2,000 life points as a cost is nothing in comparison to other card effects and everything. I mean, Solemn Judgment I think is more heftier in that you have to pay half your life points, but towards an end of the game, you know, it didn't really matter. It became a good card towards the end of the game, but Solemn Warning is one of those cards where if you play it right, you mess up somebody's play so big. And the amount of times this has been used against my Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, or even my Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, has been frustrating to say the least. And in all honesty, even though it's limited, I haven't really encountered it too much, but I still hate it. I absolutely hate this card. It's just too good, and played right, you know, it can really mess up an opponent's play. And I think what really frustrates me more about this card than anything else is the fact that, you know, people who know me, again, just like with Bottomless Trap Hole and with Light-Imprisoning Mirror and all that, once they know me well and know how my dueling style is, they keep this card back for when I make those big plays. And that's what really ticks me off about it. They know it's a good card, they know it's an effective card, and they know when to use it against me effectively. And if I've got no way to stop it or anything like that, then there's nothing I can do. As I said, the amount of times it's been used to stop a Shining Dragon summon, or a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon summon, or even just a summon that can turn a situation around against me. I mean, I know that's the part of the game and everything, but when someone's really excited about getting out their ace monster or anything, and then you play this card, the feeling you get from it, you know, the feeling of absolute despair and dejection, or I think that's the correct word, something like... Anyway, you know what I mean. The feeling of utter sadness that comes over you when this card is played is phenomenal, because you work really hard to get your ace monster out, and then it's all taken away like that for the cost of 2,000 life points. I mean, it's just not a fair card at all, I think. I honestly hope it gets banned next format. If not, I just hope it stays at limited, because it's just a horrible card. I honestly prefer Solemn Judgment over this. Solemn Judgment is a much better card in my opinion. So in at number 1, top 10 hated card of all time is still Solemn Warning. And And that's it for the top 10 series. I hope you guys enjoyed. So yeah, a big update, and as I said, there's been a lot of card changes, and you know, what I like and what I don't like in the game and everything with some of them. Some have stayed the same, like the Solemn Warning and all that. Others have changed. But I do hope you guys enjoyed, and who knows, maybe in a couple of months' time I might update this series again, depending on how the format's going and that, but we'll just have to wait and see. Till then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!